Have you ever, looked at some massive change you want to make, or maybe just a pile of information you need to deal with and felt totally overwhelmed?
Oh, yeah. Like, where do you even begin?
Exactly. Or just wondered, okay, how do I figure out what really makes a difference here?
Right. That feeling of being stuck or like progress is just glacial. It's super common. We often look for that one big dramatic moment.
But maybe the secret's smaller. Much smaller.
That's what we're digging into today.
Yep. Welcome to our deep dive into James Clear's Atomic Habits, the mission, to unpack why these tiny, like almost invisible changes can lead to absolutely remarkable results.
And how you can stop feeling stuck, start seeing real progress by shifting your focus away from just big goals.
And onto the underlying systems that actually drive success.
And to kick things off, we've got a fantastic example, the story of British cycling. I mean, it's almost unbelievable.
But, well, let's be honest, mediocrity.
Mediocrity is putting it mildly. They were kind of the laughingstock, weren't they?
Right, to just total world domination. It perfectly shows this atomic habits idea in action.
Okay, so let's set the scene. British cycling before 2003, you said grim.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Understatement of the century. Nearly 100 years of, well, not much. Just one Olympic gold medal since 1908. Think about that.
Wow.
And the Tour de France. Nothing. 0 wins in 110 years. It was so bad, a top bike company refused to sell them bikes.
No way. Really?
Yeah, they thought it would actually hurt their brand to be associated with them. That's how low things were.
Okay, so that's definitely rock bottom. What changed? Who came in?
Dave Brailsford. He became the performance director in 2003. And he had this philosophy.
The aggregation of marginal gains. I've heard of this.
Exactly. The idea was
Yeah.
find a tiny 1% improvement in absolutely everything. Everything you could think of related to riding a bike.
Just 1%.
Just 1%. His thinking was if you improve every little piece by 1%, when you put it all back together, you get a massive overall boost.
Okay, 1% in everything. It sounds
Yeah.
simple. Almost too simple. Where do they even start? The obvious stuff.
Yeah, they definitely started there. Things like redesigning the bike seats for more comfort,
Makes sense.
rubbing alcohol on the tires for better grip, electrically heated overshorts for optimal muscle temp, biofeedback sensors,
Okay, techie stuff.
yeah, wind tunnel testing for fabrics, switching outdoor riders to, like, the lighter, faster indoor suits, standard optimization, really.
But that wasn't all, was it? The really fascinating part is how far they took that 1% idea into some really unexpected places.
Oh, absolutely. This is where it gets wild. They tested different massage gels
Gels, for what?
to find out which one led to the fastest muscle recovery.
Terminal gains.
Right, but they tested it.
Okay, what else?
They hired a surgeon.
A surgeon for the cycling team.
Yep, to teach everyone the absolute best way to wash their hands. Seriously, to cut down on colds and infections.
Hand washing for metals. I love it.
Right, they figured out the perfect pillows and mattresses for each rider's sleep quality.
Sleep optimization. Okay.
And my personal favorite, they painted the inside of the team truck white
White. Why on earth?
so they could spot even tiny specks of dust easier. Dust that could potentially get into the bike mechanics and degrade performance, even slightly.
That is meticulous, almost obsessive.
It was about finding that 1% everywhere. No stone unturned.
And the payoff. You said unbelievable. How quick was the turnaround?
Shockingly fast. 5 years later, Beijing Olympics 2008, British cycling wins 60% of the gold medals available in cycling.
60% from where they were.
Exactly. Then, 2012 London Olympics, they set 9 Olympic records, 7 world records.
Okay, this is getting ridiculous.
And the Tour de France. Bradley Wiggins, first British winner ever in 2012.
Finally broke the drought.
And then Chris Froome wins it in 2013, 2015, 2016, 2017. That's 5 wins in 6 years for the team.
5 wins after 110 years of nothing. That's just wow.
So, big picture. That decade, from 2007 to 2017, 178 world championships, 66 Olympic or Paralympic golds, those 5 Tour de France wins.
Widely seen as the most successful run in cycling history.
Absolutely. And it all stemmed from that simple, almost counterintuitive idea of 1% improvements.
It really drives home the point, doesn't it? We overlook these small daily things. We want the big bang, the overnight success.
Mm-hmm. But this shows it's the small, consistent stuff that adds up.
The book calls habits the compound interest of self-improvement, which is such a great way to put it.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Like money compounding in the bank, the effects of your habits multiply over time. Tiny gains or tiny losses day by day, they don't seem like much.
Right, you don't notice them immediately.
But months or years down the line, the difference is huge. It's only looking back that you see the real impact.
And the math Clear uses is stark. Get 1% better each day for a year.
And you end up 37 times better. It's exponential.
But the flip side is just as powerful, 1% worse each day.
And you basically decline to zero.
Right.
It works both ways. Powerful forces.
And I think that slow burn, that slow pace of transformation, that's why we quit, right?
Totally. You start something new, you make a small change.
And you expect fireworks, and when nothing dramatic happens right away...
You think, this isn't working, and you slide back. It's so easy to dismiss a small change because the immediate payoff isn't obvious.
One salad doesn't make you healthy overnight. One cigarette doesn't kill you.
Exactly. One day of skipping the gym, one day of goofing off at work, it feels insignificant.
But it adds up.
It really does. Those tiny 1% errors, repeated day after day, that's how bad habits compound into really toxic results.
Right.
It's the accumulation. A slip here, a bad choice there.
Yeah.
Eventually, it builds into a big problem.
So how do we kind of picture this subtle power? The book has that gray airplane analogy.
Oh, yeah, the LA to New York flight.
Right. You take off from LA, headed for NYC, but the pilot adjusts the heading just 3.5 degrees south. Barely noticeable, right? The nose of the plane just moves a few feet.
Mm-hmm. Seems tiny.
But by the time you cross the country, you don't land in New York. You land in Washington, D.C., hundreds of miles off course.
Perfect illustration. Small shifts in your daily habits, your daily trajectory, lead you to a completely different destination in life.
Which underlines that key idea. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations.
Exactly. Your current direction, your trajectory, matters way more than your current results.
Like the millionaire spending more than they earn. Bad trajectory.
Right. Versus someone who's broke but saves a little bit every single month. Good trajectory.
Yeah.
Path to financial freedom.
So our outcomes are just lagging measures of past habits.
That's it. Your weight reflects your eating habits over time. Your knowledge reflects your learning habits. Your clutter reflects your cleaning habits. You get what you repeat. Simple as that.
It's definitely a double-edged sword. Time magnifies whatever you feed it. Good habits make time your friend. Bad habits make it your enemy.
Mm-hmm. Let's look at some examples. Positive compounding, productivity. Do one extra small task each day. Seems like nothing.
But over a career...
Huge difference. Thousands of extra tasks completed, then there's knowledge. Learn one new thing a day.
Like Warren Buffett says, it builds up like compound interest.
Exactly. And relationships, too. Being just slightly kinder, slightly more thoughtful in each interaction. Over years, that builds incredibly strong bonds.
Okay, but the flip side, the negative compounding, that can be scary.
It really can. Take stress. That daily traffic jam, maybe money worries, work pressure, small stuff maybe.
Annoying, but manageable day to day.
Right. But let that persist for years, that chronic low-level stress. It compounds into serious health problems.
And negative thoughts too, right?
Oh, yeah. Keep telling yourself you're not good enough or things always go wrong. You literally condition yourself to see the world that way. It's a feedback loop.
It traps you.
And even societal things like outrage.
Yeah.
It rarely comes from nowhere. It's usually a buildup, a long series of small slights, microaggressions, daily frustrations.
That compound until one event just ignites everything.
Exactly. It's the compounding effect in action, for good or ill.
So, knowing this, what's the biggest hurdle people face? Why do they give up before seeing that compound effect kick in? You mentioned it earlier, this expectation of linear progress.
That's the main trap, absolutely. We expect progress to be a nice, steady, straight line upwards, effort in, result out immediately.
But reality doesn't work like that, especially with compounding.
Not at all. Think about the ice cube. It's in a room at 25 degrees, temperature goes up, 26, 27, 28. Still ice.
Yeah.
30, 31, still solid ice.
Nothing seems to be happening.
Right. Then it hits 32 degrees, and boom, starts melting. That 1 degree difference, which seemed just like all the others before it.
Unlocks this huge, visible change.
Yeah, exactly. Breakthrough moments aren't sudden. They're the result of all that previous action, building up potential hidden beneath the surface.
Like bamboo. Takes 5 years to build roots underground. You see nothing.
And then it shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. Or cancer, sadly. Spends most of its time undetectable, then seems to explode.
So habits often look like they're making zero difference until you hit some critical point.
Precisely. And that period where you're putting in the work but not seeing the results. That's what Clear calls the valley of disappointment.
Valley of disappointment. I like that. It feels accurate.
It really does. Because we expect that straight line. And when we don't get it, we get discouraged. This isn't working.
I'm wasting my time.
Yeah, I've been there.
We all have. And that's when most people quit. right before the results are about to show up.
But that work isn't wasted. It's being stored, like potential energy.
That's the plateau of latent potential. All that effort is building up, and when you finally break through...
People call it an overnight success.
Right. But it's all that grinding away in the valley of disappointment when nothing seemed to be happening.
It's like geology, right? Tectonic plates grinding for ages, building tension.
And then suddenly, an earthquake.
Yeah.
Change takes time to build, then happens all at once.
Which means mastery, real change, requires patience. Serious patience. Immense patience. There's that great quote from Jacob Riis, the social reformer. The San Antonio Spurs apparently have it in their locker room.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
It's about a stone cutter.
Yeah.
He hammers away at a rock, maybe 100 times, nothing happens. Not even a crack.
Okay.
Yet at the 101st blow, it will split in two, and I know it was not that last blow that did it, but all that had gone before.
Ah, that's fantastic. It wasn't the last hit, it was all the hits combined.
Exactly. It perfectly captures that need for consistent, patient effort, even when you see no results.
It really reframes it.
Yeah.
Building a good habit is like nurturing a flower. Breaking a bad one is like pulling up a giant weed, maybe an oak tree.
Yeah, a powerful oak. Both need persistence.
But this brings up a huge question. If we need that persistence to get through the plateau, what helps us stick with it? What's the key?
Well, this is where Clear makes a really fundamental, maybe even controversial point.
Okay.
Forget about goals. Focus on systems instead.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah.
That goes against, well, pretty much all standard advice, right?
Yeah.
Set smart goals. Be specific.
Right. We're drilled on goal setting. But Clear argues, based on his own experience too, that success and failure often have little to do with the goals themselves.
But everything to do with the systems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? Scott Adams, the Dilbert creator, puts it nicely.
How does he define it?
Goals are the results you want, the outcome. Systems are the processes that lead to those results.
Okay, give me an example.
For a coach, the goal is win the championship, the system. That's how they recruit, how they manage assistants, how they run practice every day.
Got it. An entrepreneur's goal, build $1 million business. The system is...
How they test ideas, hire people, run marketing, handle customer service, the daily grind stuff.
Okay. Musician wants to play a tough piece. That's the goal. The system is their practice schedule, how they break it down, how they get feedback.
Precisely. So, Clear poses this thought experiment. If you ignored your goals completely and focus only on improving your system, would you still succeed?
Interesting question. What does he think?
He thinks yes, absolutely. Because the system is what produces the results. Think about sports. The goal is the final score.
Right.
But you don't win by staring at the scoreboard all game.
No. You win by executing the plays, focusing on the process.
Exactly. Bill Walsh, the famous 49ers coach, said, "The score takes care of itself. Focus on the process, the system, and the results will follow."
So if you want better results, stop obsessing over the goal and start refining the system that gets you there. Goals give direction, systems make progress.
That's the core idea. And he argues that being too goals first actually creates problems.
Problems? Like, I thought goals were motivating.
They can be, but there are downsides. He points out 4 main issues. First one, winners and losers often have the exact same goals.
Okay, explain that.
Every athlete at the Olympics wants the gold medal, right? Every candidate wants the job. Having the goal doesn't separate the winners from the losers.
So what does?
The system. The commitment to continuous small improvements. British cycling always wanted to win the Tour de France. That goal didn't change.
But their system did.
Exactly. And that led to a different outcome. So the goal wasn't the differentiator.
Okay, powerful point. What's problem number 2?
Achieving a goal is only a momentary change. It's temporary.
Like cleaning your room.
Perfect example. You achieve the goal, clean room. Yay. But if you don't change the system, the habits that made it messy.
It'll just get messy again.
Right. You end up chasing the same outcome over and over because you never fixed the underlying cause. You treated the symptom, not the disease.
Yeah.
Fix the inputs, the system, and the outputs, the results, take care of themselves long term.
Makes sense, like putting a Band-Aid on a deeper wound. Okay, third problem. You said this one hits our well-being.
Yeah. Number 3, goals restrict your happiness. There's this implicit idea, once I reach my goal, then I'll finally be happy.
Oh yeah, the I'll be happy when trap.
Exactly. It constantly pushes happiness off into the future, and it creates this binary. Either you hit the goal and you're a success and happy, or you miss it and you're a failure and unhappy.
That sounds stressful.
It is. But a systems-first mindset changes that.
Mm.
If you fall in love with the process, not just the end product,
You can be satisfied whenever your system is running, whenever you're doing the work.
precisely. You don't have to wait for permission to feel good. The satisfaction comes from executing the process itself.
Okay, I like that. Less conditional happiness. What's the last one? Number 4.
Goals can be at odds with long-term progress. Think about the yo-yo effect.
Like with dieting or exercise.
Yeah. Someone trains like crazy for a marathon. That goal motivates them. But what happens after they cross the finish line?
Often, they stop training. The goal is gone.
Right. If all your motivation is tied to that one specific finish line, what keeps you going after you reach it? That's why people often revert back to old habits.
So the goal was about winning that one game.
But building a system is about continuing to play the game indefinitely.
Yeah.
True long-term thinking is actually goalless thinking in a way.
Focused on endless refinement, continuous improvement, not just single piece.
Exactly. It's a profound shift.
Which really brings us to that central, powerful statement from the book. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
That's the bottom line. If you're struggling, if you're not getting the results you want, the problem probably isn't you, it's your system.
So that brings us full circle. What is an atomic habit, then, in this context? It's not just any tiny action.
Right. It's small, yes, but crucially, it's a little habit that is part of a larger system. It's fundamental.
Like atoms are the building blocks of molecules.
Atomic habits are the building blocks of remarkable results. They're the smallest fundamental units of improvement.
Seemingly insignificant on their own.
But they build on each other, fuel bigger wins, and compound over time. They're small, easy to do, but also the source of incredible power because they're components of that system of compound growth.
Okay, so let's quickly recap what we've covered in this deep dive. We saw the stunning power of 1% gains with British cycling.
Transforming from also-rans to world beaters through marginal gains.
We talked about needing patience to get through that plateau of latent potential.
Understanding that breakthroughs come from consistent, often invisible, effort building up over time, like the stonecutter.
And maybe the biggest shift, moving from focusing only on goals to building effective systems.
Because you fall to the level of your systems, not rise to the level of your goals. Systems drive progress.
Right. So for our final thought today, something for you, the listener, to chew on.
Think about one area in your life right now where maybe you feel stuck, where you're really focused on achieving a specific result, a goal.
Could be fitness, finances, learning something new, maybe a relationship.
Okay, got that area in mind. Now, try shifting your focus away from that big end goal, just for a moment.
Ask yourself, what tiny daily process could I put in place? Or what existing process could I refine, even by just 1%?
What's one small atomic habit you could start building today that move you in the right direction on that trajectory?
Forget about how far away the finish line seems. Just focus on that tiny system improvement.
And trust that quiet, relentless power of compounding to work its magic over time. What's that one small thing you could start right now?